Welcome back, True Seeker. It is May 9th, 2024. And talking about this makes me realize how fast time has flown by in the last 10 plus years of putting out this information. Because it's been about 10 years that I've understood this pattern of news headlines and the numbers 5 and 9, and seemingly the ritualistic shaming and killing of black celebrities, more often than not men. And we recently talked about this with the death of O.J. Simpson 59 days after the Super Bowl. Again, it was relevant in a big way because in the Bible, Ephesians 6 has verses about slavery that are infamous. Slaves, obey your masters, if you want to look it up. It's in Ephesians 6, and it's the verses 5 through 9. And it says, slaves, obey your masters. And again, O.J. Simpson's death was literally announced as the Masters was teeing off this year. And the last time anyone saw O.J. Simpson was 59 days earlier, the day of the Super Bowl, when he put out the social media release in a Titleist golf hat talking about how he's doing just fine and he can't wait to get back out on the links, meaning playing golf. But as I've said so often, one of two things are happening in the world. Either all of these people are literally being ritualistically killed by the same repetitive code and shamed by the same repetitive code, or Celebrity Island that they've joked about in German beer commercials and elsewhere is a real place that a lot of people get to go to. And if they're black celebrities, apparently this is the way they gain entrance. That there is something more about 59 besides just the whole racial component. Of course, Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year. Motown Records came out in 59. If you're new here, I'm literally talking about the same patterns year after year. 4 years ago, I was talking about this. This was buzzing in the headlines on May 9th. The news broke May 8th, very late May 8th. Notice the news broke at 11:26 p.m. on May 8th, right? So nobody really heard about this story on May 8th unless they're up in the middle of the night. But this story was really buzzing on May 9th on 5/9 that the founder, or not the founder, but the current CEO of Motown Records, again, Motown came out in 59. We all know what happened to Marvin Gaye, the Prince of Motown, as well as his singing partner, Tammy, is it Terrell? Tammy Terrell? Similar rituals with both of them, RIP. But again, these same numbers just come up over and over. 59. Rodney King is a classic 59 example. But notice, you have Big Baby Davis, former NBA star, college basketball star, going to prison for 40 months, which will remind you of 40 acres and a mule. And then you got Flo Rida, the Florida rapper. Today, the Supreme Court rules that he could be having to pay out a lot of money in copyright to a man who made a song in '84. And remember, a lot of these rappers that put the song over the beat, they're handed the beat and they make the song. So they don't realize that they're using someone else's music. Just like how, remember what they did to Coolio? Coolio died on the 46th. Oh my God, you guys. Coolio died at age 59 on his 59th day of his age. Larry Coolio died on his 59th day of being 59 years old. And it had 59 date numerology. And Coolio died on the anniversary of Stevie Wonder's Pastime Paradise, which is the sample used for Gangsta's Paradise, Coolio's big hit song. And, just from growing, I got to see something really interesting about that song. So I knew a family growing up. They were a white Christian family, very nice family to be around, just pleasant energy. And their family was really opposed to rap music. And this is back in a time, if you were alive, like on the nightly news, they'd be buying Snoop Dogg albums and Dr. Dre albums, and he'd be like breaking them. People would be like stomping on the CDs, breaking them on the sidewalk. And then they'd cut to the clip of Dr. Dre say, well, they just helped me make more money off about selling more records. But it was like it was at this moment in history. And then not too long after that was the Coolio Gangsta's Paradise song that came out. And this Christian family really liked that song. And they were like playing the cassette tape in their station wagon. I was like, whoa. They went from totally opposed to rap music to Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise has won them all over. But it's sad the way that Coolio went out. And again, he went out on the 46th anniversary of that the Stevie Wonder song coming out. And of course, Stevie Wonder still lives. Some people get the better end of this deal than others, and that's obvious in show business. Some people live long lives, and a lot of people live short ones. But shoot, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, Coolio died in a huge 59 ritual again on the 46th anniversary of the Stevie Wonder song, and in Genesis 46, again, a lot of this stuff's biblical where these numbers come from. Genesis 46 is about sacrifice, and Gematria sacrifice equates to 46. You can see the name of Flo Rida. His birth name is Tremar Dillard, which equals 59, like today's 5-9. The word slave, renegade, Negro, Rasta, blues, they're all 59. If you're saying, why is renegade up there? Like, where's that fit in the list? That's Obama's Secret Service name. Joe Biden, the winner of the 59th election. And that's not an accident. Kamala Harris, 59 years old right now, while Slow Joe's 81, and he supposedly got 81 million votes after Obama endorsed 81 candidates on 8-1 when Ritual's 81. Again, the point is, if you're new here, we've been educating about this exact pattern, just the shaming of black men, the ritualism, and also how the 59s almost always come together with one other number, and that's 42. Slave is 59. Slavery, the small way, is 42. 59, 42 all the time. Like Motown came out in 1959. Motown's in Detroit on the 42nd parallel north. February. There's 2 months that equal 42 in Gematria. One is February, and the other is May. Only 2 of the 12 have a 42 connection. February, Black History Month, which ends on the 59th day, and May, which has the 5-9 date. And, the other year it was Little Richard on May 9th. He was the big headline. Little Richard was dead, right? Just the other year, basketball, or it was Andre Harrell. Hold on. 59-year-old Andre Harrell had a Motown since 59. At the time he was. He wasn't the head of Motown since 1959, but I'm just saying Motown's been since 59, and then he was the current head of Motown Records, and then he dies at 59. And by the way, who broke the news on that one? He was that's right. Andre Harrell discovered Sean Puffy Combs, and if you have not seen the work we've been doing on Sean Combs, we saw what a rough year it was going to be for him at age 54 before it even came around. We've been talking about it since the death of the Black Godfather. But yeah, Andre Harrell, his death was broken at Club Quarantine. And this is in the time of the lockdowns too, you guys. Quarantine, like stay away, stay in your house. Club Quarantine 59. And also 85 in reverse, like how the date that the news broke very late, 8/5. And then it was all in the news all over on May 9th. I heard about it on May 9th, like most people. The DJ who broke the news was Derek Jones. 59 forward, 76 in reverse. Well, we'll cover the 76 thing because, again, OJ just died at 76, 59 days after the Super Bowl. Lots of rituals with these numbers over the years. Obama and beyond. Barack Obama, 76. Renegade, 59. A Promised Land, 59 and 76. That's Obama's book. Bad Boy Records, of course, Diddy's label, 5976. You know what I mean? Marvin Gaye, born on 4/2, the Prince of Motown on the 42nd parallel. Rodney King, born on 4/2, Rodney King 59. Now you can just add to the list. Here's another one. Here's the latest one. Big Baby. That's the nickname of Glenn Robinson, the basketball player. Glen Big Baby Davis. And for years, you guys, we've said, who wants these names that they put on these entertainers? I mean, like the two most popular rappers for a while were Da Baby and Lil Baby, and now it's Big Baby. And it's very likely in the future they'll be unfortunate. Well, there already have been headlines like this about these rappers that we've covered over the years, losses of family members and whatnot. We've already covered it, but I mean, there'll just be more of this to come because they do the same thing every single year. If you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers. And hold on, before I go any further, I should make sure we are good. We're not muted today. That would have been a disaster. Okay. 4 base ciphers, the alphabetic order forwards and backwards with numerology. These are the 4 base ciphers. You see how Big Baby's 30 and 42? It's also 48 like Boston Celtics. But the 30 and 42, these numbers are all over Black history. The word slavery is 30 and 42. Tuskegee, the experiment, It's 30 and 42. Again, there's such a long list of 42. Martin, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali. None of those men were born with those names. They were all given. They all equal 42. And remember, Martin he lives in apartment 42 in Detroit on the 42nd parallel in the sitcom. And just on and on and on. One of the biggest sports stars in the world, LeBron James, 42. All kinds of biblical stuff with LeBron being called King James. And again, the New Testament begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. Not an arbitrary number is 42. Of course, the name Jackie equals 42. And that's what everyone thinks of when they think of sports and Black history in 42. But yeah, the underlying code is this theme of slavery and race in the Bible, and how certain things have clearly been removed from the Bible. I mean, there's only one spot in the whole Bible. Here, I want you to see something about LeBron James. LeBron James, I want you to see how his name is 114 with the alphabetic order and 42 with numerology. And there's something to say about the other numbers absolutely as well. LeBron James is on 183 postseason wins right now after being eliminated by Denver. So many rituals. The year LeBron won his first finals, they shortened the NBA season to 66 games. Lakers has the 66 and 42. But anyway, the point I really want to make is the 114 and the 42. Again, the New Testament begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. And the only physical description of Jesus in the Bible begins in Revelation 1:14. 1:14. The word his story or history is 1:14 and 42 as well. And the only race in America that's Jesuit controlled, again, the Jesuits are the Society of Jesus. Jesuit equals 42 like Georgetown. Jesuit Georgetown paid out $100,000 in reparations money the other year and said they owe something like $100 billion. And I don't think they've made any more payments since. Just mockery. But again, the physical description of Jesus. Here, let's go Revelation 1:14, where it begins through let's just read through 16. This is the one place in the whole Bible, or it's only the New Testament's the story of Jesus, but the whole place in the New Testament, which is also true about the whole place in the Bible, that you get a physical description of Jesus. And it's in the dream of the author who wrote Revelation. And I've always said it's obvious the cabal loves to use Revelation like a playbook. There's a million examples. And they use the whole Bible like a playbook. I mean, Genesis 9:11, or God, I'm getting dyslexic. Is it 11:9 or 9:11? I need to go back and check because I haven't read the Bible in so long right now. But it's either Genesis 9:11 or 11:9, where the story of the Tower of Babel ends. The story that the tower that divides the world. And of course, September 11th is written 11:9 or 9:11, depending on where you are in the world. There's something like that with Revelation 9:11 as well. But anyway, right now we're talking about LeBron. Revelation 1:14. His head and his hairs were white like wool. Like wool. I mean, most white people do not have hair like wool. As white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. And then the next 1:15. So again, that's the most specific description you get of Jesus' head and face in the entire Bible. And LeBron, Catholic educated. The Bibles, as we know them, are very Catholic. The language, the calendar, the numbered Bibles, all in this time of the Catholic Church really expanding their influence. Again, just the rituals day after day. So we need to understand why they do this. Why are we talking about the same stuff every year? This basketball player shot dead and in the news, dead May 9th. And what was his name? Adrian Payne, 59. His full name, Adrian D'Angelo Payne, 95. Think of the greatest civil rights leader in U.S. history, the way it goes down in the history book, who has a holiday named after him, Martin Luther King Jr., again, named after Martin Luther, the Protestant Reformation leader, which is the reason the Jesuits were created, to stop the Protestant Reformation. Martin Luther was German. The last pope, the German one that stepped down on the 59th day of the year for Pope Francis, he died at age 95. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on the 95th day of the year in 1968. Martin Luther penned the 95 Theses. This year, Martin Luther King Jr., if he were alive, he would have turned 95. 1 week after his 95th birthday, his young his son in his early 60s dropped dead at age 62, and that's the other sacrifice number that goes with 46. Sacrifice equals 46 forward, 62 in reverse. Genesis 46 about sacrifice. It's in the beginning, book of the Torah, which equals 62. Special numbers from the beginning of the Bible are 46 and 62, and they're all over this sacrifice code that comes up all the time. But this man was shot dead he was drafted by Atlanta, Georgia. And there was just talking about the same thing. This is from years ago. I've talked about this same thing a million times. He played at Michigan State. May 9th is the 129th day of the year in a non-leap year, like the year he was killed. This part about how he was shot on the day, leaving 237 days left in the year. The prime factors of 42 are 2, 3, and 7. 2, 3, and 7 are prime numbers, which means they cannot be divided by any other number other than one of themselves. And they're the numbers that multiply to 42. That's what makes them the prime factors of 42. 2 times 3 times 7 is 42. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 7 is 42. The Flo Rida thing. Flo Rida getting the 59 treatment today and looking by the way, the letter for him was written by Justice Elena Kagan, because they got to make it all just right. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson equals 95. But notice, it was Flo Rida's 237th day of his age. Again, the prime factors of 42. The 42, the 59. And again, we've been talking about this for a decade now with Rodney King and other examples. And God, we were even talking about things they did during the O.J. Simpson trial, coding these numbers 42 and 59. Now to see all these years later, O.J. die in this 59-76 ritual. And here, to make the point about 76, which we haven't made as clear yet, look at the headline today. Glen Big Baby Davis, sentenced to prison for NBA healthcare fraud. And NBA healthcare fraud, that phrase is 76. Okay? Gematria is the alphabetic order forwards and backwards with numerology. Notice how slave, Negro, Rasta, blues, how they're all 59 forwards, 76 in reverse. Think of Tiger Woods, who had many rituals in his time. Woods is 76 forwards, 59 in reverse. And Tiger Woods broke a lot of racial barriers for golf, this historically racist sport. So again, this year, OJ, who's from San Francisco also equals 76. Drops dead again 59 days after the Super Bowl. We talked about Ephesians 6, 5 through 9, the verses about slavery and slaves obeying their masters. Another infamous verse in the Bible. And again, this one goes with Obama. Barack Obama equals 76. Again, his book, A Promised Land, equals 59 and 76. That's based on Abraham in the Bible. Abraham equals 44. Obama put out that book on the day, leaving 44 days left in the year. He was the 44th president. But Barack Obama, 76, that movie he just put out, Leave the World Behind, there's 76s all over the film. When everyone's cell phones went down for that one day that was, the big story in the morning, the media was paralleling it to the Obama film, and it was 76 days after it had debuted on Netflix that news story happened. Again, this country founded in 1776, along with the Illuminati. But with regards to black history, it's Acts, the 44th book of the Bible. Acts, A-C-T-S. I know I cannot pronounce Acts right. I just say Acts, like you chop wood with. But it's like a speech impediment, that word. It's the 44th book of the Bible, though, and it's Acts, A-C-T-S, 7-6, about 400 years of slavery. And again, we were talking about this big time in 2019 approaching, because for a long time we'd had the year 2020 circled and the 400 years of slavery. And we knew that the 19-year cycle thing, 19 years after 9/11 and the 19 hijackers, which came 19 years after the war on drugs, which came 19 years after the war on JFK's head. 19 years after 9/11 ended up being 2020, the year of COVID-19. Again, these people operate in a 19-year cycle, but we saw how 2020 wasn't that far also beyond the 400th anniversary of slavery in America, and that was August of 2019. Again, Acts 7:6 is about 400 years of slavery, and then the next verse, Acts 7:7, is about how that nation will be punished. And 7/7 is like 77, and United States equals 77. So does secret society. This nation's capital is known as the Masonic City, Washington, D.C., on the 77th Meridian West. Working on 9/11, the day that changed America, Flight 77 hit the Pentagon 77 minutes after taking off. Look it up. 8:20 takeoff, 9:37 crash. That's what they told us. The Pentagon's 77 feet tall. Don't just search on Google and ask how tall it is because they changed the answer from 77 to now what it now says. In 2019, when my video on this got a million views, back when we could actually still get views, or it might have been 2018. That might have been fall of 2018, actually, not 2019. Anyway, I just know we haven't gotten any views since Kobe Bryant died. They just shut this channel down and the sports channel. Sports channel just loses subscribers every day now. But Acts 7:7 about the nation getting punished. We're like, well, that makes sense because after the 400 years, and we know something's coming in 2020, ended up being COVID. And if you haven't read my book, Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus, a lot of the same kind of information in there, and all the ways they ritualistically encode it in the events of our time that, got people just going in circles, getting caught up. Because you have to understand what this nonstop programming does. And again, that's the one thing that they've switched up. They've stopped saying back to your regularly scheduled programming because people are catching on. But that's what it is. And it's just always the same subtle things. And like people who already have like a racist inclination because they've been watching screens that have always put these little racial divides out there. People are like, oh, what's with all these black rich basketball players that are like living life's a crime right after out of the league and going to. It's like, is that really what's going on? I mean, and the point is, we know it's not because look at how ritualistic it all is. And again, you just got to use your overall common sense and look from a big picture perspective. Is it not true that right after the war on drugs was declared, at that same moment in history, crack cocaine, which is, like super addictive and really bad for you, but inexpensive, that was funneled into poor communities. And again, poor communities. People of all race live in poor communities. I grew up in a poor community. I was like the only white kid in the neighborhood. My sister and I were the only white kids in the neighborhood. My sister, who's a lot older than me growing up, she only had, black boyfriends growing up because we were the only white kids around. And anyway, growing up in that neighborhood, I just learned that like the TV was bullshit and all this stuff they were trying to sell. Back then, oh my God, growing up at that time, just the nightly news was so much worse. It was like so much more racist because it was back to your regularly scheduled programming. Tonight, be on the lookout for a black male. Might have done this, done. It's just like every night it was like that. It's like, but now you just see it. The same numbers over and over. I mean, of all days for the Supreme Court to open up Flo Rida to financial severe penalties. And in a way, it's like, is it really his fault? I mean, isn't it common in the industry that people put a beat together for you, got a hit song? I'm sure he didn't really. I understand why the other guy deserves to get paid too, but it's just like the ritualism of it, smacking him all these years later. And I don't know what's going on in that guy's life. I mean, how's he doing? Is he like trying to hold it together like a lot of America at this point? I don't know. But to have this huge financial penalty come in ritualistically, it's just again, why do these things happen so much more to black celebrities than anybody else? I mean, what they had to do with it kills me that everyone fell for the Will Smith and Chris Rock slap too. I mean, it kills me that more people haven't been paying attention to what we've been putting out because sadly, Sidney Poitier did die at 94 as we predicted he would before the 94th Oscars. And again, Will Smith did that movie early in his career where he pretended to be Sidney Poitier's son and then, had the scheme on the people he deceived. All of these things are so highly connected, and you learn the code, you just see that they've been putting these same numbers on these rituals over and over and over. So anyway, Glen Davis, right? This news breaks on a Thursday. This is today's news on 5/9. What makes him maybe the perfect ritual for this Thursday is what do I always call Thursday in sports? I call it 35 Thursday, right? 35 Thursday. Notice Glen Davis, Big Baby Glen Davis, was the 35th pick of the NBA draft, right? And he was drafted by the Sonics, who are now the Oklahoma City Thunder, which are on Interstate 35 is Oklahoma City, just like Dallas is. And we just had this huge 35 ritual in the first game of the series with both teams. Kevin Durant drafted by that team, 35 years old right now, number 35, because his coach got often a 35 ritual. Supposedly that didn't have anything to do with Durant, but I don't think so. Not with this world of secret societies and high ritualism and ritualistic death and sacrifice. But the 35 thing, I mean, look at the Flo Rida story today, also in the news on Thursday. Check this out. Look at the song. Again, his name is Tremar Dillard with that 59. Justice Ellen Kagan wrote the opinion for how he's now open to being on the hook for all this copyright money. Notice Flo Rida is 44 years old right now, right? Hold on. I'm going to come back to the 44. Let's hit the 35 piece first. There's just so many things. How far down on the post is it? There it is. The song that they used from 1984 was Jam the Box. Jam the Box. Notice the gematria. 35 forwards, 46 in reverse, just like Thursday. Numbers that come up all the time in Thursday rituals. We talk about these numbers almost every single week in NFL football season. Tonight, what's crazy, and don't go bet the house on this, 35 historically is great in football. In the NBA, in the NHL, there's some weeks it plays nicely, and there's some weeks it doesn't seem to matter at all. What's really funny, though, is there's 4 playoff games tonight, 2 in the NBA, 2 in the NHL, and in every single game, it's possible for a 35 to play. But again, you pay attention to the news week after week. You'll see the ritualism if you just pay attention. What I was pointing out, I do intend to someday get back to doing the markets group. It's just, I'd like to spend more time on that. It's just not a lot of people. There are some people who are interested, but just not a lot. But yeah, well, just last year when we were doing the markets group for the months that we did it, we realized there's a big pattern with Chinese stocks on Thursday. China equals 35. I mean, just some of these Chinese stocks have crazy movements. And from looking over the period of time, it would be like the stock would be like fire for 7 weeks. Then it might fall off for a few weeks, and then it would climb back, a little correction, and then whoosh. But this knowledge can be applied to so many things to improve your position literally. And what it is just deciphering what's being done, how it's being orchestrated. It's like understanding the orchestration of information and how it's presented to us each day in the world of news, sports, elections, politics, what your government's up to. And again, it's good because it shows you who could possibly be doing this. And there's only one answer to that. And for those who are like, oh, only one answer, that sounds like it's got to be loaded. No, there really is only one answer to it, you guys, because you have to really think about what is the possibility. Again, in the 16th century, the Jesuits were created. At the end of that 16th century, you had English standardized with 26-letter alphabet, and this calendar, named after the Pope, released that's credited to a Jesuit priest. Who else could have synced up the system? I guess the argument is that the system was created and somebody else hijacked it, and now they're running it the same way. It's like, okay. I don't know. It looks like they're still syncing it up every day with the Pope and the Superior General. So, again, I really do think there's one pretty obvious answer, and I think we've been on it for a long time. And again, it's just, again, Gavin Newsom, the Jesuit scumbag in California, all a crackdown, why it came 205 days after Newsom's birthday on the second day of the 5th month, or 2/5 or 5/2, numbers that have a lot to do with government, the church, Israel, the Pope. But yeah, there's certain Jesuit patterns over and over. Today, this thing for Flo Rida, I'm going to have to pay this guy Pretty Tony. I want to know if Pretty Tony's a Catholic. But it's 144 days after the Jesuits. The song from 84, Jam the Box. If you've been listening to like the theories on how Joe, because remember what they did with the election, you guys. Don't forget that, speaking of 144, don't forget that Jesuit Georgetown simulated the 2020 election with the Transition Integrity Project, June 12, 2020, 144 days for the election. And part of the simulation that was that Trump would refuse to step down after narrowly losing to Biden, say that the election was stolen from him, and it would lead to a deadly altercation in America, which was their January 6th ritual. Again, that simulation, 144 days for the election. This upcoming election is 144 days after Trump's birthday on the very Jesuit day, Guy Fawkes Day, the day they tried to do their most political thing ever, blow up British Parliament as this country's being imploded. These people like fireworks and explosions. But 84. That one of the tactics, if you go back and just look at people saying a tactic that's been described as like the Democrats jammed the ballot box with some kind of false ballots or using people that had died but not been removed from the voter registry. Because if you remember, I mean, they did play it out perfectly, right? If you, because I thought I was wrong. I felt like I was wrong going to bed that night because I'd been saying for a while that Biden was going to become number 46. And then they stopped the elections late that night, which seemed weird. They're like, well, we'll continue the count tomorrow in the morning. But like Trump was well ahead in a lot of places. And it looked like he just really needed one or two more of these to come through. And it was going to be his. And I was like, God, I can't believe they're not going to do Biden. But then the next morning you wake up and there's all these new numbers and now Biden's ahead everywhere. And I was like, wow. The next thing you know, I think if I remember right, they called it for Georgia on the 46th day of Jimmy Carter's age. And then Biden and Jimmy Carter have been compared in all these different ways. The hostage situation, the collapse in Afghanistan. Anyway, remember, Joe Biden, number 46, elected exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, inaugurated as number 46 on the Pope's 35th day of his age. JFK, the first Catholic, number 35, killed at age 46, on and on and on. What happened to Beau Biden at age 46? But yeah, jam the ballot box is like this. If you listen to just people talk about it, that's a phrase they use. So I'm like, election year, Florida. Remember what happened in 2000 in Florida? This rapper's from Florida. It's funny, actually, now that I think about it, George W. Bush equals 58. That was the hanging Chad year. But yeah, there is more to this. So I'll come back to it. I just wanted to make sure we really started with the 5942 piece, since that is just a lesson I've been teaching for a decade. It was really one of the most when I was in the early days of my research, it was like really one of the things that just blew me away the most. How they were bringing this 59 and 42 together with Black history over and over. And I mean, we've documented it so many times now over the years. It's ridiculous. And it really does annoy me that there's just like a gazillion podcasts in the world and people that are internet famous. And I mean, I guess we've had some nice little things. Like we did have CeeLo Green share our video on his Instagram. That was cool. We had Lord Jamar, the rapper, share my book in his podcast. We've had the interview with Larry Johnson. Of course, we've had Jeff Young of Megadeth. Shout out to Jeff Young. Someday I'm going to tell a funny story about Jeff and why humanity just needs to learn to get along regardless of things. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting off topic, but anyway, I realize like part of the reason the work has not done as well as it should is, of course, the censorship and stuff. But at the same time, sometimes I can be a little bit mean. I know I've scared a lot of people away being mean, but again, I get mean because a lot of things I say that might be mean, though, they are also true. Everything I say is really just to get people thinking about things and why somebody could be so mad online about these topics. And shouldn't I be mad about this? Shouldn't everybody? That we're getting mocked? That there's been secret societies here the whole time just mocking us, performing these rituals to program the minds to get the stereotypes over and over. And again, there's a lot of things that there's a lot more things I got to say about all these things I brought up today. There's just deeper layers too. We just hit 59 and 42, but we're gonna go to the deeper layers. But yeah, Adrian Payne the other year on this day. It's just May 9th, 2022, 15th pick of the draft by Atlanta, the 15th city. I think I do. I have a follow-up post on that somewhere about how it was connected to Tom Izzo. I think that's the other part of that that's missing from that post. I'll do follow-up posts. If you guys go to my website and just search keywords, Adrian Payne, the way he spelled his name is hard to remember because that's not a common spelling of Adrian. It's like Andre Ian Payne. Okay, but like here, look at this. Look at this with Big Baby Davis. His full name is Ronald Glen Davis, which equates to 248. And again, the Illuminati just turned 248 years old. The United States is about to turn 248 years old. Pluto has a 248-year cycle. Plutocracy's a government system where the rich rule the peasant class. Again, they keep the peasant farm here real content with their rigged sports games. But remember, the Celtics just advanced on the Illuminati's 248th birthday, and there's a lot to it. They won with 118. Celtics equals 118. Run it the other way. Celtics is 71. They became 7-1 versus the Heat. Those numbers have a lot to do with John Havlicek, who died in a big Illuminati ritual the other year, the same day Joe Biden announced he was running for president, when Joe Biden's Secret Service name is Celtic. But anyway, remember last year on the Illuminati's 247th birthday, the Celtics were a 13.5-point favorite against the 76ers and got beat, which we loved because we had the 76ers to upset. The 76ers had two 247s in their favor against the Celtics on the Illuminati's 247th birthday. So the point I'm making is, in back-to-back years, we're documenting these Illuminati-related rituals. If you missed the one they did with Donald Trump, the name of the court he's in equals 248, like President Donald Trump equals 248, who had his mugshot on 24/8, who got a break in that courtroom for May 1st so he could campaign the Illuminati's birthday. By the way, Illuminati equals 48, like Boston Celtics, like Donald Trump, like Hollywood. Remember the movie they did the other year when the Celtics lost to the Warriors with Adam Sandler and Kevin Garnett in the jewelry store? People didn't get that joke. Kevin Garnett in the jewelry store with Adam Sandler. But when they're training for the running part, he's getting that guy that eventually makes it to the Celtics. When he finally hits the milestone, he screams out 201. People don't get the jokes, but as we know, 201, big Illuminati Jesuit number. There's a reason Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Illuminati, died 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment. Just like there's a reason the first Jesuit Pope lives in Suite 201. Just like there's a reason the Celtics started this year 20-0 at home and got their 201st loss and a big loss with Denver in a 201 ritual. And Denver's got one of the 27 Jesuit universities in the nation. That's Regis in Denver. Boston has Boston College. Again, there's only 27 Jesuit universities, but Denver and Boston are both Jesuit cities. Remember, Matt Ryan, Jesuit educated, gave it up as a Falcon for the Patriots. Go back and Jeremy White has it on his YouTube channel, JHW3D. JHW3D. Look up that YouTube channel, all those letters together, JHW3D, no spaces. Just look for the Matt Ryan 201st career game. You'll see the special tribute they gave Matt Ryan in his 201st game by having to put a big old 201 stat on the screen. Again, these numbers have meaning. They're part of high ritual. It's obvious they're Jesuit because there's a gazillion examples like that. We all know what they did to Bill Russell on the last day of the Jesuitic Nation year. He played at Jesuit University San Francisco, made his NBA career with Boston, dies right after the NBA Finals on the anniversary of the death of Ignatius Loyola, the Jesuit founder. By the way, just coming back, with regards to May 1st, the Illuminati's birthday, the founder's Adam Weishaupt, whose name is 51, like May 1st, like just Glen Davis alone. And funny enough, from Glen Davis's birthday, which is New Year's Day, to the start of the finals is 157 days. His name forward, Ronald Glen Davis, is 157. In reverse, it's Ronald Glen Davis, 248. So in reverse, 248 to go with the Illuminati being that age. 157 forwards to go with his birthday to the start of the finals. And again, this doesn't mean it's a lock that Boston's going to be in the finals. Don't get it twisted. But you can see the narrative and the script. And when teams like this don't make it, they're usually at least in the conference championship game, which isn't going to shock anybody with Boston because they're the heavy favorite in this year's playoffs. But guess who also liked Boston a lot for a lot of these reasons before the season began, before all this shit happened? And we called so many futures time and time again over the years through this knowledge, where as you pay attention throughout the season, the stats add up. And again, it's also why there's such a heavy troll campaign at the work too, and so many agents in the community that work to try to slander my name. This work is major. But yeah, again, the Celtics will turn 78 on game 1 of the NBA Finals, and this is the 78th NBA season. And NBA Finals equals 78, and so does Boston Celtics. And funny enough, the Celtics won 64 games this year, and Glen Davis played in 64 playoff games with Boston in his NBA career. There's a lot more to that. Um, but there's a reason, again, for the ritual. The phrase, your number is up. Your number is up. So Glen Davis has the 42 connection, automatically makes him a candidate for a 5-9 ritual because they're always bringing 42 and 59 together where we started. Big Baby 42 like slavery, 5-9 like slave, like Negro, like blues, like Rasta. He had that connection, and then it's also this ritual. It falls on a Thursday, and again, 35 Thursday rituals all the time. He was the 35th pick of the NBA draft, drafted by that Seattle Supersonics team that had Kevin Durant, who's 35 years old right now. And you know what? Let's actually look at that. Durant's birthday is September 29th. He's 35 right now. His birthday is 9/29. It's very easy to remember that his birthday is 9/29. Do you remember when he was traded to the Warriors on July 4th, the nation's birthday? So what's so impressive about that is in Jewish gematria, United States of America equates to 929, like the date September 29th. United States of America, 929. That's how many chapters are in the Old Testament of Protestant Bibles, where if you look into the Old Testament, you'll see that the oldest people in the Old Testament were definitely looking more like, say, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, than they were the people who live in Israel today, to just make a long story short. And anyhow, 929 goes with this Old Testament number. It also goes with United States and gematria, and then the nation's birthday is 7/4, and he's being traded to Golden State Warriors. This nation's always at war. But 7/4 is interesting because there's a lot of things that are special about 74. One of them that's simple is Jewish equals 74, just like Jesus, who's from Judea. Society of Jesus. The Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, began with a Catholic-Jewish alliance because the Protestant Reformation targeted both religions in Europe. Both Catholics and Jews were targeted by Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation. And that's why they said that Hitler, who was a German, carried around, Martin Luther's books. But remember, Hitler was modeled after the Jesuits as well. Anyway, just to stay on this, Durant got with the 9/29 birthday. To this news today about his former teammate. It's 223 days later. And check this out. There's something interesting about that. Oklahoma City. Whoops. Again, they were drafted to the Sonics, which became Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City Thunder is 223. Years ago when their coach died, or the coach's wife died, excuse me. There was an assistant coach for the Thunder. God, it might have been Monty Williams. I forget who it was. But his wife had this big death ritual, and 223 was all over it. So, again, I was just starting to think, Durant, and for the person who needs to see Kevin Durant's birthday, someone out there is going to be like, he just planned all this. He's lying. That's not really his birthday. Here, for that person. Kevin Durant, born September 29th, 1988. Okay, 35 years old. Dallas, Oklahoma City tonight. The I-35 matchup where JFK number 35 was killed. JFK born on the 149th day of the year, the 35th prime. So again, you just think about it, how they're scripting it all together, right? Like I've said a million times, they got the chessboard set just right. Isn't it funny that it's 223 days after Kevin Durant's birthday? Because again, they all have history through the same team that's playing tonight in the playoffs. And here, just to make a point too, these games have not tipped off yet. You see how these two teams playing today? They're hosting the Celtics and the Thunder. I want you to see that they both played 2 nights ago, the game ones of their series, and they both won, right? And the Cavaliers lost with 95 points to Boston, and the Mavericks lost with 95 points to Oklahoma City. And we all know what happened in 95 in Oklahoma City on Ignatius Loyola Day. That's the day the founder of the Jesuits was recognized by the Roman Catholic Church, April 19th, which is the day in history the Revolutionary War began. Again, this 95 is a huge number. We talked about why we just gave Israel and Ukraine and Taiwan $95 billion on the 201st day of the war. But 95, right? Remember, in 1995, Joe Biden passed the nation's first counterterrorism legislation on Governor Keating's birthday. He was the governor of Oklahoma. And then 68 days later, the building blew up, the Oklahoma City Federal Building. Huge Jesuit ritual. The 201 was all over it, the 144, so many numbers, just huge Jesuit ritual. Undeniably, the Jesuits created to counter the 95 Theses. So, you had like weather warfare going on the day this game opened, and this game opened 35 days from the anniversary of a destructive tornado, the most filmed and photographed tornado in history, still to this day, the one in Dallas in 1957. Again, this is the Thunder's 57th season. This game was on 5-7. So there was all this high ritual with this game. And with regards to the 95, think about what day they're now playing. Now both teams play again on May 9th, right? 9/5. And the thing about the 95 Oklahoma City bombing, Oklahoma is the 46th state. Joe Biden would eventually become the 46th president. And again, in seeming like a perfectly long script, he sacrificed his wife and daughter in 72. Then he sacrificed his son at age 46 when he was 72 years old. President Biden equals 72 like Jesuit order, also like President Trump, who's also Jesuit educated. But Oklahoma's the 46th state, and Joe Biden, again, his Secret Service name is Celtic, and John Havlicek, the famous Celtic, died the same day that Joe Biden announced he was running for president. Now, John Havlicek retired from the Celtics in 78. This is the 78th NBA season. Joe Biden became president when he was 78. Again, the Gematria thing, Boston Celtics. There's only 3 teams in the whole NBA where no matter if you use city, nickname, or full name, there's only 3 teams in the whole NBA out of 30 that have a 78 connection, and they're all in the East. Boston Celtics, they all made the playoffs this year too, and we talked about this early in the year. New York. And did you guys see the headline about how Rick Carlisle complained about 78 calls in the last game? Look up that headline. Rick Carlisle, the coach of the Pacers, complained about 78 calls versus New York. New York 78. The Pacers picked up a big 39 last night. Remember, New York, both the NHL and NBA playoffs began on the same day this year, the 111th day of the year. The Knicks scored 111 points. The big Villanova 3 had 33 of the 39 in the fourth quarter the other night. That was a headline. Again, you just pay attention to these numbers. You see the way they do it over and over. We had a hunch the Knicks would score 111 on the 111th day of the year, as we've had so many times. High rituals, repetitive patterns. But yeah, there's a little bit more information to this. You should join us on Patreon because we talk about this kind of stuff every day on Patreon. And there's something incredible they just did in the MLB with the Celtics in the same day on May 1st. Here, just to give you guys one more little tape. There's several more things to know about this, but to go back to that May 1st game, the day that the Celtics clinched their playoff series and advanced to this one, Boston that day, the Red Sox, they became 7-8 at home. Again, this is the 78th season. The pitcher they faced, Eric Miller, it was 78 days after his birthday, the starting pitcher for the Giants. Eric Miller, 78 days after his birthday. Eric Miller went to a Jesuit high school. Like, you start to look at these athletes, it's incredible how many of them either went to a Jesuit high school or college or a Catholic high school or college. It's a huge percentage of professional athletes. For all you guys out there who are serious about raising a pro athlete, if that's what you want to do, if you want to put them into these leagues, you better figure out how to save up enough money to put your kid in Catholic or Jesuit school if you really want them to be in the league. But then, hey, if they make it to the league and you die the next day or on the way there or something happens to them, remember, you made a bad choice because you saw what this thing was all about. But yeah, at the same time, just for the people who want to make bad choices, it's sad to say that, but God, it is. It's just like, you want your kid to be famous after you know this? No way. No way. You're writing their fate into existence because you see how this game's played. And just the Giants losing 2-6. I mean, Celtics equals 26. So does ball game. So does game. Remember, it's a special number. Brian equals 26 like Jordan, like Kobe did on the 26th day of the year. On the anniversary of Bear Bryant's death, run it the other way. Brian equals 37 like Los Angeles. Kobe dead on the 37th anniversary of Bear Bryant. You guys see how today's 129 days after Glen Davis's birthday? That's 201 in base 8 counting. Georgetown equals 129. The Jesuit Order 201. Again, Georgetown's the first Jesuit university. Georgetown's motto is both into one, two into one, 201. The word Jesuit alone is also 21, the small way. But yeah, just the obvious slave ritual. Is that guy on the Pacers? Is his name Turner? Am I reading his jersey right? Because Turner equals 33 if Turner is number 33 on the Pacers. We call these games, we don't even watch them. Don't need to. However, if you watch the games, you can probably pick up on even more. But no, you just got to know the numbers. Get the outcomes right a lot more often than not. Scripted sports, scripted news, high ritual, on the court, off the court, on the field, off the field. Same stuff over and over. I mean, I can't tell you how many NFL players they've done this to. Okay, coming back to Flo Rida on 5/9 with the Supreme Court opening them up to having to pay out all kinds of money for copyright for all these years. Records sold, radio deals. Anyway, his birth name again, Shamar Dillard, 59. Like we said, the Supreme Court justice that wrote the opinion, they had to get the one with the 59 name for this 5/9 ritual on the 237th day of his age. The prime factors of 42. But Flo Rida's 44 years old right now. Another fateful number in Black history. Again, MLK killed on 4/4. Malcolm X killed on 44 date numerology. Again, his assassin, Thomas Egan, equals 44, and he got 44 years in prison. Obama becomes number 44, 44 years after the Civil Rights Act. By the way, Barack Obama equals 68 as well. 76 and 68, but 68 is like the year MLK was killed. Catholicism and mathematics equals 68. And that's what it is. It's a biblical mathematical system synced up with the language in the calendar that they use over and over. I mean, that's the best way I could explain it in just a soundbite. Basketball equals 68, Catholicism 68, mathematics 68, so many rituals. And again, March Madness now up to 68 team tournament. The first ever year they used March Madness, it was the Jesuit school, Georgetown losing to the Catholic school, Villanova. Got the big three from Villanova on this Knicks team, giving New York hope. I forgot to tell you the third team that had the 78 connection in the NBA. It's who Boston's playing right now, Cleveland. There's only 3 teams in the whole NBA with the 78 connection. See how Cleveland's also got the 48, like Donald Trump, who had his convention there, and Trump's trying to become the new Grover Cleveland, being a split-term president. Donald Trump's birthday is the 165th day of the year, June 14th. Donald Trump, the new Grover Cleveland, about to turn 78 is Donald Trump, 78 cards in the tarot deck. House of Cards was the hit show on Netflix when he was running for president. Then him and Kevin Spacey all in the headlines together for sexual abuse. But yeah, anyway, Flo Rida's 44 years old, and the guy who he's going to owe the money to, Pretty Tony Butler, he's got the 44 connection. Tony Butler. At 44, he's going to have to pay up to Tony Butler. And then it says Tony Butler's partner is actually the guy who did more of the legal pursuit and went after Warner Music. Or here it says Warner Chappelle Music. Is that some kind of Dave Chappelle collaboration? Oh my God. Do you remember when they had Dave Chappelle save the people of like Yellowstream, some small town a few years back? It was like the biggest joke ever because he had the skit with R. Kelly about piss on you. And the next thing you knew, R. Kelly was going to prison. And again, R. Kelly's got the same Jesuit prosecutor, or R. Kelly had the same Jesuit prosecutor that Diddy has right now. Again, look into the woman who's prosecuting both of them. She went to Georgetown. Again, Georgetown established by 54-year-old John Carroll. John Carroll equals 54 like Jesuit order. R. Kelly was 54 when he got sent to prison. Diddy's 54 right now. Over and over, Jesuit order in reverse is 72. Diddy's father killed at age 33 in 1972. By the way, the word black equates to 11. The Supreme Court took this up from the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. And the 11s today in this, there's a few of them. It's 11 days from the anniversary of the song being released, which was released on a very Jesuit day, Cannonball Day. It's 11 days after Keegan's birthday, who wrote the opinion today. It's 11 days after her birthday. The 11th court. And that song came out May 20th, 2008. So 11 days before. Remember, black equals 11. We saw a similar ritual with the death of Aston Barrett of Bob Marley and the Wailers. He died on the 34th day of the year, right before One Love came out. One Love equals 34. The word black equals 11 forwards, 34 in reverse. He died on the 34th day of the year, Aston Barrett, 11 days before that movie came out, which came out on Valentine's Day, which is another very Catholic day. Well, I mean, that's what you start to realize. You're like, damn, everything we do is Catholic. All this stuff, Easter, Christmas, it's all Catholic. We are living in the Catholic world. Like, no wonder all these rappers got Jesus pieces on. Look, he's got his Jesus piece on. It's above the other pieces of jewelry. He's like, I don't even care if you can't read the thing under that. My Jesus piece is on top. But yeah, May 20th is Cannonball Day. Again, Judge Eileen Cannon wanted Trump in court on May 20th. Billy Cannon died on that day. Well, we'll see. We'll see what else we document here in recent times. We'll see what else they got for us this year on May 20th. Cannonball Day, 46. Remember, like Thursday, like Jam the Box, like Catholic. And he's got the copyright for Jam the Box. The partner of Pretty Tony, who's suing and getting the copyright money, Sherman Neely. Interesting how his name's 54, like Jesuit order. Interesting how just the same stuff shows up all. I mean, some of this stuff could be coincidental. You know, as we're scanning through this, maybe 15% of it is coincidental. But like the 5942 stuff, no way. I mean, it's the same stuff every year. It's possible something like this is coincidental, and we throw it in there because it fits the overall pattern, but maybe that was not by design. Or maybe it is, because it does fit. It really does fit a lot. Cable 54, the enemy of the world. Today's date numerology, guys, it is 5-9, but the date numerology is 58. You had 5 plus 9 plus 20 plus 24. It gets 58. May 9th, 2024. 5 plus 9 plus 20 plus 24. Make sure you got that. Copyright, though, 58. Again, big numbers. Secret Society, Freemasonry, Rosicrucian. Remember King James, Freemason and Rosicrucian, dead unexpectedly at age 58. All the Freemasonry secrets are in Solomon's Temple, 58. Just how it all fits in, right? Perfect. And it's in D.C., the Masonic city. And here, this should have been up there. I don't know why I didn't put it up there. Freemasonry, all kinds of interesting numbers. 58 forwards, 59 in reverse. Today's 5-9, right, with the 58 date numerology. America's 139 like Freemasonry. The Bavarian Illuminati's 139, established right before America with plans to take over Freemasonry. Again, modern Freemasonry is a Jesuit creation, as is the Illuminati. So in a way, it's like, is this some kind of filter to like maybe we'll go back through history and think they weren't all in on it? Make it seem like George Washington was writing letters about his concern about the Illuminati, what they're up to. The other founders worried about what will happen if the Jesuits come out of suppression. What if that was all part of the script too? Thomas Jefferson saying you got to revolt every 19 years, you'll be fucked. As they are writing it all down, they're like, nobody's ever going to do anything about any of this, but we're going to put it all down like we gave them a chance. We got to, if that's the way it is, we got to make that plan backfire on them. It makes me so mad that we have this internet and this tool, and I can be here all these years teaching about the same thing every time May 9th rolls around. And we don't just have like it should be like a new holiday. It should be like National Protect a Black Person Day. And sorry if that offends anybody, but like seriously, I mean, every year. It's like if there's a day that's dangerous to be, and by the way, don't get carried away with this. And if you're not part of these game line and sold your soul essentially, like most of these megastars have, this isn't necessarily something you have to worry about. There is a weird organic side to this, but again, the first rule of Hermeticism is all is mental. So keeping a positive mind state. And again, I mean, I've had people for years writing me crazy emails, letters in the mail that I'm going to turn into some evil demon if I keep presenting this because this knowledge is evil. Some people might say it happened. I have become, to those people's credit, I have become a meaner person when I first started because the internet will do that to you. But I don't think I've become an evil person. I think I'm still teaching the knowledge in a very valid way. And people, if they can just get past some of the rants, they'll be good to go and they'll be better off for listening. But yeah, whenever I got those letters and read that kind of stuff, I was like, okay, I'm not thinking about that this way. I know I'm going to continue to put out this information because I'm so sick of watching this stuff happen in this rigged society, this program society, this media. That's what I hate about the media too. They're always the ones subtly doing this now. And they're the ones for years have scared people about darker complected people. I mean, they do it right now with Middle Eastern people, people down from south of the border. I mean, they're always making darker complected people more scary. But it's this media that really has put a lot of unnecessary division into the peoples of the world, and the age of the TV that just did not have to be done, and they like to play innocent like they didn't do it. They're not getting away with it. But yeah, again, 2 years ago today, that's what we were covering. Adrian Payne on 5'9", drafted by Atlanta, Georgia, predominantly black city. Baltimore, another predominantly black city. Baltimore has that Gematria 95. Remember, that bridge came down in a huge ritual shortly after what would have been MLK's 95th birthday. The media compared the bridge collapse to the Salvador Dali painting, The Broken Bridge in the Dream, like MLK's I Have a Dream. If you guys don't know about the Francis Scott Key Bridge ritual, you got to go back and watch this stuff. I mean, I know everyone only has so much time in a day, but it's way more important than entertainment stuff. People need to understand how bad we got played the day of the Key Bridge collapse. Somebody's trying to call in, but I wasn't taking calls. Hold on. Oh, I did have it in here. Tom Izzo was on 666 wins. Tom Izzo is a longtime basketball coach at Michigan. I mean, there's not a lot of coaches you can look at in history. God, he started there in Michigan State in 95. When you spell out 666 as 95, he was on 666 wins. You know, it's funny he was on 267 losses too, because that's the Philadelphia area code. The first basketball championship was won by Philadelphia. The Warriors, who've been a huge team in the 21st century, are originally from Philadelphia. Philadelphia is so important to basketball history. Jordan played his last game in Philly. Kobe's from Philly. That 267 comes up so much in basketball. So that was Izzo's record. But remember that this man who died on 5'9" or 9'5", again, his first and last name 59, his full name, Adrian D'Angelo Payne, 95. And this is the part where you start to look at like a movie like They Cloned Tyrone, where they got a secret lab under the hood, growing black men for strategic purposes and figuring out how to manipulate black culture through music and food. And the secret lab entrance is behind the IHS cloth when the Jesuit motto is Jesus Hominum Salvator. And again, the Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses, and they did Martin Luther King Jr. dirty on the 95th day of the year. And again, these rituals are so perfect. And again, I used to ask for years, I was like, what? See, those are the kind of questions that you had to connect the dots when I was first, because I was like, okay, wait a minute. If Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year and Motown came out 59, all this stuff about 59, like, why did they make February have 28 days so that's even possible? And then you start to answer the question, you're like, well, wait a minute. The Catholic Church made it, and then the Bible's numbered this way, and that has a lot to do with the Catholic Church, and the language goes back to them. It's just like it answers the question, who is doing this? And then you just look at where all these guys went to school. And then you got Gavin Newsom type, Slick Willie, baiting people with the reparations jokes. And they're like, oh, never mind. We couldn't afford to do that. We just wanted to get your hopes up for the last 6 months before we end the ritual by the numbers on you. Yeah, Andre Harrell, again, they broke this news at the very end of the day on May 8th, so almost no one heard this news. Again, it was buzzing May 9th. Motown found it. I mean, just this stuff's been blatant. Again, the very next day, Little Richard died, or the same day that was buzzing, Little Richard died. Famous, and Little Richard's who they always try to connect to the devil too. He's possessed by the devil, Little Richard. But yeah, we covered this earlier, just how it was announced at Club Quarantine. I'm just being repetitive. Again, Derek Jones, the DJ, Bad Boy Records. He founded Diddy. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, you guys. The Million Man March was on the day, leaving 76 days left in the year. Then years later, you get Barack Obama. And Obama's putting out movies about the end of America and its destruction in 76 rituals. It's like, how sick is this? And that should just show you these people are puppets on strings. You think I mean, seriously, man, Barack Obama's, can you imagine being the former president of the United States and the first movie you want to put out is about the destruction of your country? Oh my God. When there were like, right-wing conspiracy theories that he was a Trojan horse meant to. Again, I was getting annoyed with just all the conspiracies against Obama when he came in because I was like, are people serious? Like, did they just not see the last 8 years? How about the years before that? How about like all the years I've been alive? And that's how you could just tell people are racist too. It's like the one guy who steals my work and then uses cl- he he does everything I do, but then instead of blaming the Jesuits, he says it's all going back to Barack Obama, which it doesn't line up nearly as well. It doesn't line up anywhere near as well. It's a joke, but it's just like, oh my god, this guy still has so much hatred from Obama. He thinks Obama's running the world even to this day. But yeah, the conspiracy community, man, they came alive with a black president. We love white Jesus, not Barack Obama. He's from Kenya. But remember, he's part of the joke too. Again, Obama on the 45th birthday of the Church of Satan, April 30th, 2011, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, he jokes that Trump will be the next president, number 45, and it was 45 days before Trump's birthday. We're going to keep repeating this every day too, till everyone knows. Mega is the highest degree of the Church of Satan. I mean, what a ritual. And then you see the word ritual equals 45, like Mike Pence, like Berlin Wall, like how he's called the 45th president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall when he ran on building a wall. All this stuff is major league mockery. The ritual sacrifice, killing and shaming a black man, major biblical mockery. Donald Trump, the word Holy Bible's 45. We called it day one. There were going to be major biblical rituals in the time of Trump. Were we lying? No, it was the most biblical ritual in the history of America. And that's not an exaggeration. Never before had we seen a pandemic simulated 666 days earlier. And then you had to accept the mask, one letter off from Mark, if you want to buy or sell or go to school or participate in most places in society. And then you had to get the thing that gets injected into you that in Sumerian gematria equates to 666. That word is vaccination. These things weren't an accident. And it wasn't an accident. It happened perfectly synced with Donald Trump and his Jesuit education. Far from it. You know, they got Marvin Gaye on the last day being 44 years old. Marvin Gaye was killed at age 44. Kind of like how Flo Rida's having a bad day at age 44. He's like, shit, how much money do I got in the bank? How much am I going to owe? Going to try to take me for everything. No, this is the game. It's like if black guys want to be on the stage, it's likely it's going to come with an extra price. Could be extra family members, extra big ritual shaming. It's just so obvious. But don't get it twisted. I mean, they do people of all races. This shit's going on all over the world. But I mean, there's a reason I'm here day in and day out. And a high percentage of the time, it's like, oh shit, Zach's talking about someone who's dead. What do you know? You know, thankfully today, we don't have a death headline. Not yet. But we do have, black men getting shamed all over the place. Big financial problems all of a sudden on 5/9 because the Supreme Court, they've since 2018, you guys, they've had and you know what? In light of it saying since 2018, don't forget that the word race equals 18. I purposefully made in my first book, Letters and Numbers, chapter 18, about the racial code of 42 and 59, and I explained that. I remember right after I finished that book, I think it was February 4th. Oh, I got to go back and look. No. It wasn't that. It was January 8th. It was right at the start of the year. There was some popular clothing brand, like mall brand. I want to say like Aeropostale, if that's how you pronounce it, something like that. But there was a big controversy that started on 1/8. I just finished like my book. It was people were. I was trying to get somebody to publish it at that time, but it was right at the start of that. Unless I'm getting my time twisted. Anyway, if you guys remember, this popular clothing brand had a little black boy and a little white boy next to each other. And the black child had on a shirt that said something like the coolest monkey in the jungle or something like that. Do you remember this? But it was on 1/8 and it started a big controversy and race is 18. And then if I could remember what the clothing brand was, I would just look up the post on it right now. But yeah, from then before then, up to now, there's just been so many little things like this, and if you're just aware of this knowledge, you're like, "God, we are literally being baited by a code into just getting invested in these stories and paying attention to it and taking a side and having an opinion," and it was Aeropostale? Is that what it was? Let me just search that word and see what comes up on my old website because it was long enough ago that it was my old website. Let's see. Nothing came up under arrow, and it's possible the post has been taken down. No, here it is right here. Here's the post right here. January 8th, 2018. The weekend. By the way, the way he spells weekend. Hold on. I mean, this is my point right here. I probably have it right down here in the post. Hold on. There. Let's just start with the weekend, who spells his name that funny way. Because he doesn't have a or hold on, am I tripping? They used him in the mega Super Bowl 55 ritual. Anyway, here, let me just go over the older posts. H&M apologizes for monkey image featuring black child. So on 1/8, right? Just race 18. You can also write the date 8/1, ritual 81, when Obama endorsed 81 candidates on August 1st, which can be written 8/1 or 1/8. Um, I guess it was Abercrombie and Fitch. Or no, H&M. No, it was H&M. H&M. Oh, yeah, that's right. Abercrombie and Fitch in the past had been connected to racism ads. That's why I wrote that line. But young, that's right. The phrase boy, the word bus and the word boy both have gematria 42, and how boy can be used as a derogatory term towards a black man, referring to him as a boy. And you think about that with this recording industry and asking these guys to take on the names of the baby, lil this, lil that. It's all the same shit. Boy, February, brothers, slavery, Jack, and just a lot longer list. Again, just same examples over and over. Just gone back to Rodney King, born on 4/2 with the 59 connection. The killer of Michael Brown, huge 201 Jesuit ritual right by Jesuit St. Louis University. But they had to put him out in a number 42 with a Blues jersey on. Again, Blues got the 59. Ferguson and Missouri equal 42. Remember, Missouri just won the Super Bowl this year, the first ever Super Bowl on the Vatican's 95th birthday. The 42nd day of the year, the Chiefs became 4-2 in Super Bowls. How it was synced with Derek Thomas, who got sacrificed, number 58 for the Chiefs. Yeah, coolest monkey in the jungle. And the other guy says survival expert. Coolest monkey in the jungle, 108. Key digits 1 and 8. And the news on 1/8. But yeah, there's just so many examples over the years, you guys. H&M slammed for racism after showing Black Boy and coolest monkey in the jungle hoodie. Okay. In the headlines today, father convicted of killing his 5-year-old daughter, sentenced to 45 years to life. Again, just even if the news wasn't all scripted, why is it always stories like that? Is it just because it gets clicks? Out of all the things our government wants to be involved in and subsidize and have control and influence over, why not more? Oh, I guess because of the Constitution. In a way, well, again, you don't want the government interfering with your media either, but it's obvious we do. Is the point? It's just like our whole country's just bullshit. It is all controlled by the government. That's why it's nonstop propaganda and serving their endas and never asking any real questions, but always just like this negative, low vibration information all the time. I guess the way to change it in the world is if everybody just literally turned it off, like a blackout of them. Instead of the blackout they're planning for us, we blank them out. I mean, that would be awesome if humanity could do something like that. Like, okay, this is the day we all say, okay, we do see that we're being controlled and manipulated and overtaxed and steered astray. Today's the day we shut it down, and we know that there's big numbers of us in communities, and we're going to work together to make this happen. And that means we're going to need food. So let's get to the agriculture since we're not serving the man anymore to pay all the taxes to keep a roof over our head. Sorry, landlords. We don't want to steal, but we're just changing a new world. We'll work it all out. The landlord will get some privileges because he's got to. Again, I don't know. Just there has to be some rebellion against this system. And in a way, as I say these things, a lot of you are like, well, that's why I would never rebel, because even though I hate this system, man, I love the hot shower and I like the safety of living another day, because I don't know if I'm going to live in that world. I mean, that's why they got us right where they got us, right? This system, they're the perfect manipulators of people. They know how to take advantage of them, but keep them where they're not going to resist it. They're just going to put up with it. The mockery, all of it. I mean, look at our election, you guys. It's always a mockery, but now it's just a new level this year. Space Invader says 59 is the third degree. First is 7 at. I'm not following. I don't follow. 59 is the third degree. First is 7 at 26 plus 33. You lost me on that one, but thank you for the donation. For people who don't know, Freemasonry does equal 59. And it's the 17th prime number, and the word Mason equals 17. And again, modern Freemasonry was created in 1717, and then this nation was created 59 years later in 1776. 5976 again. And isn't it interesting how those numbers are encoded, in the Masonic origins of the nation that began with slavery? And the people that came over here, they came with Bibles. And they said the people that already lived here, the natives who got wiped out, that they were godless heathens because they didn't have the advancements. They didn't have the gunpowder, the printed books. They didn't have the word of Jesus. They're still swearing in on the book and saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to uphold all that, and I swear on Jesus. And everything else, I guess, in the Bible as well. But again, you just see how it's all worked out. It's very clever what they did. They know how to control man. You control them with the spiritual beliefs. You teach them the way you want them to think spiritually. You want them to kind of be afraid of everything, really bad punishments if you're not on board with the beliefs that the authorities told you about. And then you see how that just blends into everything else. I mean, you didn't believe the authorities in COVID. They made it seem like you were going to die if you didn't put your slave muzzle on and get jabbed at least one time. No, 2 times, maybe 3 times. I mean, it's just fear-mongering nonstop. Literally, I had to watch the ads in Washington State, all these little sponsored ads, trying to shame people who hadn't gotten the jab, people who aren't wearing their masks, how you're putting people's lives at risk. It's like, dude, fuck off, okay? I mean, that was the proper response to all that bullshit. 99.9% survivable to everyone that's not dying in a nursing home. Fuck off, okay? We're not shutting down the nation, ruining America, because we're now a pack of pussies following the orders out of Switzerland. And again, this is the other part of it too, because people going along with all this programming and nodding their head and not doing anything about it, and then even being aware of it, but then not really sharing it. It's why 2020 came as we predicted many years in advance, and it was a slaughter, and it put us on an even worse platform. And like I was saying a long time ago, as life goes on, if this cabal's not stopped, it'll just be the same trajectory it's been on, where quality of life gets worse, things get a lot more expensive for families, more needless wars. I mean, that's been the system since it was implemented after World War II, the one we're on now. Just as time's gone on, that's been the trajectory. Things started off really good for the people of the U.S. shortly after World War II. The new financial system that favored them made it so one parent could work, cover all the bills, pay for the college education, have a nice put-together family. Somebody's always in the house, a parent. Again, I mean, that's doesn't even sound anywhere near possible for almost anybody anymore. It's like you got 2 people slaving away, and they can barely keep up now with the price of everything. And more rumors and more wars. I mean, this is what 10 years ago when I started, you guys educating about the 5942 thing, talking about things just like this. And And I mean, we haven't been wrong, unfortunately. I wish we had been wrong. And it's going to continue to just be more of the same, which is not good, unless somehow, some way, people recognize what's up and figure out a way to create a real movement. Like I said, we're blacking them out, and this is the day where all these things we ever said we wanted to do, have a garden, grow our own food, get out of this system, get out of this 9 to 5. 9 to 5. When I learned about the Jesuits at 9 to 5, I was like, God, the 9 to 5 makes so much more sense now. Slavery. Remember, Jesuit equals 42, like Georgetown, like slavery. Who are we paying all these taxes to? I mean, is it really going all to NASA and the space program? I mean, it looks every real when every 4 years we get a new NASA story with the camera in the room of the 30 people who are facing some big screen all clapping when the mission's accomplished. Like, where do these people go? Like, what is going on in that room? Where do these 30 people always come from? The clapping people in the room. The legitimacy for the last $1 trillion we just sent to these agencies. Is that money even going to these places? Maybe it's all going to the Vatican, the independent city state, and they're doing the money laundering at their central bank. It's just like, again, we need to look at the way the world really is and how we are being lied to and manipulated. And again, how come Steve Mnuchin, the Skull and Bones member, audited Fort Knox on the day of the Great American Solar Eclipse in 2017? When there's clear alchemy symbolism in that. On the day of the total eclipse, Fort Knox gets audited for the first time in forever. The sun represents gold in alchemy. Gold's supposed to be at Fort Knox, so on the day that you couldn't see the sun is the day that he audits. And then he does a story with his model wife about how they're putting up dollar bills for wallpaper in their house. I mean, all these stories are fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And what's funny is it's like, it really is like the people who rule over us, it really is like they're human beings. And the average American is like a cow. And it's like, some cows might have a nice owner that really cares about them and wants to make sure they're eating good grass. And, they got everything they need to be just the happiest cows before they do slaughter them. That's the same. In a way, it's almost like, you realize what government is, you realize there's some governments, yeah, they end up slaughtering their people too, but man, they treat them a lot better. Not in America. And people just don't see it because they're under who knows what they went through. But really, it's like we have an owner that he doesn't care about if we eat good grass. He's got the just total dirt shit mud lot. And again, you can see this out where I live because I live out in rural country. Some cows still live in a nice pasture full of grass. And you can tell the owner cycles them around so they don't overeat the grass. They're always eating, new grass, plentiful grass. But then some of these lots, it is a dirt, smelly shit show. And there's just troughs up on the fence of slop. And those cows just eat the slop, whatever's in the trough box. And I mean, imagine that. It's like being an American. You're eating shit every day. Your owner doesn't give two shits about you. Destroyed a lot of the natural environment. And then you're a cow, so you can't understand his language. But he's always like, fuck you. Fuck you. I'm going to fucking fillet you. Fuck you. Because it really is like that. It really is like that every day, you guys. And it's sad that people are like, oh, I'm not listening to that conspiracy shit. It's like, it's because you don't have enough balls to handle the fuck yous we're getting and get yourself to a place where you can do something about it. And I hate when haters come here and they're like, what are you doing about it? Hey, I've been trying to do a lot about it for a decade. I've been out on the ground in places, sharing knowledge, getting stuff. Again, we got a whole bunch of people to come out in the corner of Seattle in the cold and wet right after the pandemic was declared at the foot of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to educate about Event 201. It did go viral for the first time on Twitter that weekend. Again, more people doing shit like that could have made a huge difference. Imagine the whole country was doing that. Everyone who calls themselves a truth seeker was doing that. Maybe everybody would have heard about Event 201 right away. Maybe the lockdowns wouldn't have worked because everyone would have been like, nah, not fuck me. Fuck you. Because that's how we've been, right? Again, and I demonstrated that too during the pandemic. If you guys missed my live stream the day I went shopping at Costco without a mask, I mean, we should have won a damn Emmy for that. Just don't go in the freezer if you're live streaming. That'll fuck up your broadcast. I messed up there. That was the only mistake in Costco. But, the signal came back in by the time the fifth employee tried to come and tell me to put a mask on. And I just told them all the same thing. I said, listen, when I signed this contract to shop at this store where the prices aren't even really that great, sometimes there's something that's worth it. There wasn't anything about how I have to wear some slave muzzle for some 99.9% survivable illness. I had one of the employees try to like bump me in the chest. I was like, whoa, you might get in trouble for that. I don't know if you want to do that. But the last guy who came up, man, literally he had his slave muzzle on. And I just said to him straight up, I said, dude, have you looked at yourself in the mirror? I mean, it literally looks like you took a shit out of your mouth that stained on your mask. And he just turned right around and he just walked straight the other way real fast. And then I just did the self-checkout. And then what was funny is like 2 or 3 days later, I got a letter in the mail from Costco that said my membership was canceled. And who cares? I mean, that's what we should have all done. Fine, you'll go out of business then. Imagine if everybody had done it. They would have went out of business. But here's the problem. Everybody else is like, why would I do that? It was so dangerous. Didn't you watch the news? Didn't you hear what Anthony Fauci said? We got to put our muzzle on to be so safe from the 99. I mean, dude, it's crazy how much time's gone on and how much further this message should have gone by now. But yeah. And don't forget, you guys, just with regards to the racism, you had Idris Elba come on by the numbers at the beginning of the pandemic, and he told black people they were going to be the most susceptible. A lot of the news coverage to here. You guys, about 42, the 42 piece of this. Tuskegee is a big 42. And if you look into the Tuskegee experiment, there were 201 men in the control group. Like event 201 was the simulation. These 201 42s are big Jesuit numbers. Numbers that have to do with slavery and the Civil War and the Confederates and what they just did with George Floyd and January 6th. It's just, you learn this code, you see how all these rituals are being orchestrated that pay tribute to history and the divisions they've drawn in society. But, yeah, again, slavery. Tuskegee's got the 42, like slavery. And, whoops, I missed a R. Slavery. And also vaccine, you know, and the media was telling people who are darker complected they needed to get it the most. They needed to get it the most. And you got to go back and see what Bill Gates said in 2010. I'll start to make more sense. Remind you about like crack cocaine being funneled into poor communities and then way longer prison sentences for crack cocaine than typical cocaine, which really only wealthy people can afford. So it's like, oh, so if the poor people get the poor version of cocaine, they got to go to prison for a long time. But if somebody, you know, has cocaine, you know, there are some places where you get long drug sentences for everything, but crack cocaine got way longer sentences than typical cocaine. And it's just so obvious how targeted that agenda was. All these things are so obvious. So yeah, I'm going to end my ranting, Truth Seeker. Thank you again to everyone who hits the like and the share. Jason Tatum with the big bucket tonight. Yeah, 68th day of his age. Yeah, big basketball number. These are things we talked about on Patreon. Nice call, Mr. Wingfield. Yeah, Michael Jordan in 59. Exactly. I mean, Michael Jordan's another big 59. So many Michael Jordan rituals over the years. I mean, there's just been so many rituals. Rigged boxing matches with Tyson Fury in 42 and versus Deontay Wilder. And I mean, just like even the Chiefs this year, just understanding that ritual with the Chiefs, it was so easy to see. They made them the underdog. And it's like, how are they not going to get to 4-2 on the 42nd day of the year with Mahomes? Again, you guys, Black history, Super Bowls. First ever Super Bowl won by a black quarterback. Doug Williams scored 42 points, 4 touchdowns in the second quarter. Second black quarterback, Russell Wilson in the 42nd state. The third, Patrick Mahomes, who had 42 passing attempts in the game. Then when he beat the Eagles, it was in Arizona 42 land, the last state to recognize MLK Day. And then last year, he wins his third on the 42nd day of the year, getting his team to 4-2. The Jackie Robinson statue just gotten vandalized right before that. And Jackie, he played in the Negro Leagues for the Kansas City Monarchs for Major League Baseball. Aaron Judge just hit the home run. Okay. I didn't look at Aaron Judge today. If you had a call on that, nice work. You guys, that's what's awesome. I mean, there's a lot of people who've learned the knowledge from me, and rather than they don't spend their time decoding the news and presenting, so they spend more of their time decoding sports and just learning expanding on what I taught them, and they make really great calls. And that's what's cool about this too, because that's the one thing that's different from 10 years ago. I mean, when I first started, nobody else was talking about this anywhere. Now you got a lot of people sharing it in a lot of different places. But the censorship, though, man, it really does take a toll because you don't really see anybody getting any good views who's sharing this knowledge. It's like the algorithm tracks, like, oh, they're talking about, gematria. You're getting flagged and you're getting buried in the algorithm for that. Ah, yeah, yeah. I like the way you use the knowledge. Again, you guys, Pope Francis equals 59. Benedict stepped down on the 59th day of the year for him. Pope Francis, the 266th Pope. So yeah, I see what you liked in that. Aaron Judge, 266th home run. The Jesuit motto, "E Sus Salvatum Salvator," 266. Pope Francis spoke in DC on the 266th day of the year. Yeah, that was a good use of recognizing the patterns. Well done. Aaron Judge has had some nice rituals for us over the years in Yom Kippur, time of atonement and judgment. Yom Kippur equals 99, like Aaron Judge's jersey. Yeah, I know, and that's the thing they do all the time. They're always removing people from my channel. I can always tell the days where I make a video that really pisses them off because they'll like drop a huge chunk of people at once. I'll be like, oh, look at that, I'm down 100 subs just instantly. That was nice. Sometimes they'll drop like 50 at a time. Yeah. But it seems like every day they're just chipping away a little bit. I'll notice like periods of the day I'm just like, just like every hour I'm just down one more sub. Doesn't seem organic. I don't feel like why after just now doing that video that when I did the video on Drake and Kendrick Lamar and it actually got some decent views, the sub count was just going down for a little bit, but then eventually went up. But yeah, that they're always manipulating it so that your number is lesser than what it should be. And again, once upon a time back in 2017, we used to get a lot of views. And the work's a lot better now than it was in 2017, which might be part of the problem. Might be why we have to be more censored. So we'll just keep putting it out until the breaking point comes and the cabal ends. At least that's the thought. Got to maintain the optimism. So we'll leave it there for now, you guys. Have a good rest of your day. Again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. And thank you to everyone who supports the work in all ways. And by the way, if you've still been thinking about helping out Amy, let me just write it down one more time. Again, you guys did help her out a lot. Thank you to everyone who helped her out. If you already helped, you do not need to help again unless it's no thing to you. But I know Amy, she still has some bills. If you guys don't know about Amy, she's a great decoder in the community. Just some bad things happened recently. She came down with a health problem, which was a bill, and took her out of work. And then her father got really ill. And then sadly, he passed away. And then she couldn't believe how much the funeral expenses were to take care of the father with his funeral wishes. And anyway, thank you to everyone who helped her out. You've made a big difference. But if there's a few more people out there that got $1 for Amy, $ Amy CTC on the Cash App. And she will appreciate it. Thank you again to everyone who already helped her out. All right, until next time, Truth Seeker.